Let's check in with our caller from the 815 area code. Who's calling today from 815?
Hi, this is Jonathan from Rockford, Illinois.
Hey, Jonathan.
Uh, Hi. I just had a quick question about so considering the current state of our political climate, particularly like with the DNC, trying to rally against Bernie, and obviously the ideological differences with from Republicans with Democrats, um, would you see, like, hypothetically, if Bernie was to become president, do you think his term would even be successful considering that there's so many people going against him, both on the left and right? And so, like, his policies of like Medicare for all, universal education, all that, would he even be successful in trying to convince other people to sign on to that, even if he were to be president?
Well, when I've talked about this before in the context of healthcare, I was absolutely crushed by a huge portion of the Bernie supporters in my audience. And remember, I'm voting for Bernie in the primary. No, you're absolutely right, which is that uh, if it's Bernie versus Trump, Bernie's the right choice, and we vote for Bernie, and hopefully Bernie wins, and he gets as much done as possible, and he will get some things done. But when you have a significant part of the Democratic Senate not in favor of Medicare for all, when you have the filibuster, when you have all of these other things, of course Bernie's not going to get everything done that he promises, and that's no different than any candidate. Every candidate has. Trump was going to do a wall. He was going to do new health care. He was going to eliminate the deficit and eventually pay off the debt. Like, he's not doing any of that stuff. Now, those things were
Right.
completely unrealistic to begin with, but needless to say, it wouldn't be a new thing that someone is brought into office and their ambition is bigger than what they can accomplish. That is a perfectly realistic and sensible thing to talk about. The question, though, is what can we get done, and making sure that
Right.
that we do it. But you're completely right. Anybody who argues that you're being a defeatist is being completely unrealistic.
Yeah, I totally agree because, I don't think that, you have to be realistic, especially right now. You got to take your victories where you can. And so I totally agree. And I also wanted to ask so, like, obviously with the rise of Bloomberg, and his, like, obviously he's been the mayor of New York and he has some political experience. But for someone like Trump or, Tom Steyer, um, do you think it's time, and I know this probably would never happen, but that we update like qualifications for the presidency that involve like maybe having some type of political experience, holding some type of office, or just maybe updating what we have already. In
No, I
terms
don't.
of
So
who can
first of all,
become
it would be
president.
very difficult to add new requirements, but I
Right.
actually I don't think that political experience should be required. I would like it if the electorate was more informed about, if you lack political experience, what other sort of experience would be a good replacement. I don't think being a reality show host and using your dad's money to still run a business that goes bankrupt a bunch of times, like, that doesn't qualify for me. But I wouldn't want to add more requirements. The only things I would consider adding are, maybe we should have presidential candidates, major party presidential candidates, undergo a full cognitive assessment. And I think that
Right.
particularly this presidency has made relevant. But no, I wouldn't add more requirements about. I don't believe it would be constitutional, and it would be very, very difficult to achieve. And I don't think it's the right thing either.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. All right. Well, those are all my questions. So thank you, David.
All right, thanks. Appreciate the phone call very, very much. That is going to do it for today. I do apologize. I wasn't able to get to everyone, but it is great that there are more people calling in than the number that I can get to, because otherwise it would be very, very sad. We will take calls again. We will take a quick break, and then I will be back with much more right after this.